Hustling's hard, but I'm used to it. I'm numb, I don't feel no pain. We push until the sun comes up, baby. We get it in the pouring rain. I won't stop until my heart stops. They don't have to force me in the grave. Until that day, there's no sleep for me. I want the world to know my name.
The war's already started, the groundwork's been laid. We're 100 men strong, you should be afraid. This is disastrous to your whole village. This is that warrior music, you don't dance, you feel it. So put your hands up and let your head bob. We ain't aiming at you, these are just warning shots. Sun up to sun up, you know how we do it. Grind till it hurts, and then we push through it. They say the hunger pains eventually go away. I ain't even broke a sweat, I could do this all day.
Ball State hasn't seen someone with quite the scoring capability at Marcus Keene.
We made a number of mistakes early. Their offense is hard to guard.
Starting to see why the Central Michigan team is top 15 in the country in scoring.
They went up about 10, and we fought back. We knew that we could score on them, so I knew at halftime that we had our momentum was kind of with us.
Second half, as our pace got the best of them, that's when I remember the game starting to stretch out for us.
It's been all Ball State as of late, getting it done offensively, but defensively as well. Trey Moses, the rejection at the rim, Ball State by 13.
As the game wore on and we got a few more reps and got a little more comfortable with the way they were running their stuff, we executed our plan better.
Central Michigan convincingly, 98-83.
We're a much more together team right now than we ever have been. Winning has become a bigger priority right now than it ever has been. Our practice, culture, and work ethic is much better right now than it ever has been, and I'm glad I'm not telling you this after 2 wins because I told you that before the Buffalo game. That's what championship teams have, and that's what we strive for.
The Central game was, those type of games are team efforts. It's never just one guy shutting down Marcus Keene because he's using, 50 pick and rolls a game, so there's 50 times when you're relying on multiple defenders.
From a scouting standpoint, I feel like you treat them like you treat everybody else. You research them, figure out what they like to do and how they do it, and try to take it away.
You got to be very aggressive with them on defense. You can't give them open shots, and I just try to give it my best effort just to give them all contested looks.
We watched him on film, we could tell he can get his shot anytime he wants. I mean, he's a great one-on-one player, and the plan for us was just to make him take as many challenged shots as we could. He obviously started out the game like a firecracker. He was hot as can be, but I think over the course of the game we did a pretty good job of doing that, and he ended up with not his best percentage game. So from that standpoint, I thought we did a pretty good job.
He's a really great player. Like you've seen, he's had a game where he scored 50 in conference and leads the nation in scoring. He's a really good player. I feel like we contained him for the most part.
Over the course of the game, Taylor did a really good job of making it as hard as he could on him. And for the 40 minutes as a whole, he won that battle.
Alec Peters, he's the real deal, that dude. I mean, he's putting up numbers, but his team's great and he's winning every year. Every year his team's top of the Horizon League.
He can post you up and he can shoot threes. And we're fortunate to have a guy like Franco when we play Valpo, because not many people have that type of defender that can defend in and out the way Franco can.
He's just a problem in so many areas that, I mean, he's hard to deal with. I have a lot of respect for Alec Peters. He's the real deal.
I tell you what, Luke, he'd be another player out there for Ball State against this Eastern Michigan defense that they could certainly use with that 6'6", 206-pound frame.
Kindon Crowder. Buddy starting to heat up, and the Cardinals need it.
If Ball State's going to win this game, I think he's got to be out on the floor.
I just never gave up. Like, a lot of people told me I couldn't do things, and I feel like I can do anything I put my mind to. Like, I played basketball, you know, like the parks. I didn't think I was that bad. I was, you know, 5 foot, you know, a little point guard. I was cut my junior year, sophomore year. I didn't really do anything, didn't try out anything. I just like being around the game. And so it took me like a month or two. I was like, I like basketball, you know. I just picked up, became a manager, and started doing what I had to do. I had really 2 options. I didn't want to go to school. I actually didn't want to go to college. But my mom told me it was either college or the military. And I didn't want to go to the military, so I said I had to go to college. So I just chose Ball State. I was the only one, didn't take a visit here, didn't look at any brochures. I just applied. And then my sophomore year was kind of where I, you know, wanted to get more involved with basketball as, you know, the new recruits came in. So I went to try to talk to the coaches, and they was like, "No, we don't have any spots, but we have, you know, manager positions open." I'm like, that's kind of cool, you know, what would I do? They were just like, you probably be doing film, be on the court, you know, it kind of gave me like the roles and duties of what they wanted me to do, and I signed up, and that's when I started. We were at Butler University, and Coach Taylor was down some players. So since he was down, he was like, "Hey, do you want to, you know, get in the drill?" Like, shots was going up, and we had to rebound, and I was getting a lot of rebounds, so, you know, the players obviously mad, like, "Man, why you going so hard?" And the coaches, like, I didn't know they were shocked. I was just going out there and doing what they tell me to do. I just played my role, and then next thing you know, the coach was like, "You thinking about walking on?" It was actually very weird. Like, the next day, I was a player, but I was still doing my manager duties. So I'd be dressed up in the basketball gear, everything, shoes, and I'd bring the balls out, you know, I'd bring towels out, and they like, "Hey, KD, just know that you're a player now." Like, I couldn't like imagine that I was still, you know, a player on the team right then and there. I was still a manager.
Who would have thought that Kindon Crowder could possibly be the leading scorer and the Cardinals are in the game?
Eastern Michigan's had it.
He'd gone from a guy that was a manager in high school to a guy that was playing in college basketball games. And I think all that happened when Billy Taylor was the coach. And then eventually he made the team as a walk-on. And when I showed up, he was on the team as a walk-on.
To be honest, I thought he was gonna kick me off the team because, you know what I'm saying, like, new coach, you can get new staff, new players and all that stuff. So I was just trying to do what I had to do just to kind of stay on the team. Every day I went out there and I just wanted to compete. Like, you had a spot, I was gonna take it. Because my end goal was to win, and if, you know, we had Coach Whitford, I seen that he was a good coach. He knew what he was talking about. He knew the X's and O's and how to get through a lot of stuff. So I just wanted to make everybody else better, put us in position to win.
Well, he played a lot for us, you know, and he really actually helped us.
When I left, I didn't really know what I wanted to do after I graduated, but I knew I wanted to be around the game. I was in the car and I kind of prayed, and I was just like, "Lord, should I stay here in Chicago? Or should I go back to Ball State?" You know, like the next, you know, kind of like sign I get, that's a sign I would choose from. And right after I prayed, I got a phone call from Pierre Sneed, and he was out here in Muncie, and he was just like, "Hey, bro, you trying to come back here?" And I was just like, "That's it, I'm going back." And so I just picked up everything and I came back to Muncie. I hit up Coach Whitford and I'm like, "You got any, you know, positions available that I can, you know, actually help out the team?" He was like, "Well, we got a GA spot open, but apparently it's closed because Juwan's in there. He got a year left. So you can come down here and just kind of work around, you know, Jaren, and just, you know, pick up his duties, see if he needed help with anything, just kind of help him out as an office assistant."
And then he talked about wanting to get into coaching, so he he hung around for a year and kind of volunteered, and then the graduate manager spot became open, so we were fortunate to get him.
We were excited about that because we knew who he was as a person, and when he, kind of made that step to want to try to get into coaching, we knew, when we had a GA opening that he would be the perfect guy.
So far in the rhythm, I got a nice little groove right now. It's a lot tougher, being in a different role.
It's a lot of film exchange and, digitally getting us organized for the people like me that don't know what they're doing. And then organizes all the managers who help run practice, help run the shooting programs, help run all that. So it's there's a lot on his plate.
Like if next year somebody wanted me to be the head coach of a team, I wouldn't know what I was doing at the beginning, but eventually I'll mold myself and actually become, a guy that can lead a team or can lead, somebody to championships. Man, I just want to win.
You could sense we were going to start playing better. Our focus was better, our practices were better, our commitment was better. We became much more comfortable with that part of it, and that's what leads to good performance. And then the Central was kind of a culmination of that work that showed up on the court.
Our mentality kind of shifted after we lost those two at the beginning of conference. We all sat down and were like, we got to fix this and get this right, or our season's not going to go the way we want it to. And we came together, and I feel like we're earning the right to play better.
Good tempo early, and a slam for Weber.
I think Taylor's come a long way in terms of being able to run our team. Early in the year, he was more of a home run hitter, but he has a much better understanding of how to run our team on offense.
The thing that makes him a special player is he's an emotional player. The thing I'll give him a lot of credit for this year is his ability to try to rein in his emotions at times. I love coaching him, and I love his passion, and he's been great to have around this year.
Taylor Parsons knew all along where his shooters were running to the wing in the corner.
I just feel like I've been more focused in practice and kind of understand what our team needs. Lately, I kind of have been chilled out a little bit. I don't know what happened. I just kind of, I guess, just trying to understand that, not to get too high on stuff, not to get too low on the plays. And it's kind of helped me out the way to talk to my teammates and the coaching staff. And I feel like it's made me a better player.
This is Scott and Susan Hollywood, who had an interesting start to their relationship.
I had an instant crush on her the minute that I saw her. One day I was walking out of the library and she looked at me and she said, "Hey, who are you going to winter ball with?" And I told her, and then she got this smile on her face and she started to walk away, and I said, "Wait, why did you ask?" And she said, "Well, I was going to ask you." So I told her, I said, "Wait here." And she waited in the hallway, and I walked back in, and I told the other girl that I couldn't go with her. And I walked back out, and I said, "Now you can ask me."
On February 7th, 1998, Scott and Susan welcomed their only child, Zach, into their lives. It didn't take long to latch on to his mom.
Anything that I ever wanted, I always went to my mom first.
Zachary was definitely a mama's boy, so he could get away with a lot more from his mother than he could from me, certainly.
They only shipped one.
At Bradley Bourbonnais Community High School, Zach played all 4 years on the varsity team and was cheered on by his biggest fan.
There was times where my dad thought that she was going to get kicked out of the game. She was more fiery as a fan than my dad.
After his senior season, Ball State took notice of Zach, and his mom was in full support.
They knew that she was going to be that mom that was always there at the games and being really loud. She told me, work as hard as you can. She told me that she loved me, and she told me she would see me in a month. I was texting her, and I asked her like a question. She told me to ask my dad because she wasn't feeling well. And I said, well, what does that mean? Are you like really sick, or are you like just have a cold? And she was like, she said that she was in the hospital getting IVs and stuff like that. And then like everything was fine. And then I called my dad, and he said that she was back in the hospital again. And that's kind of when I realized like something really isn't right here.
20 years ago, Susan was diagnosed with ulcerative colitis, an inflammatory bowel disease that causes complications to her colon. To this point, none of her flare-ups had been severe.
It's an input-output disease. So as you eat, obviously you digest what you eat, and that's when you start to have problems. So what she would do is she would minimize the intake, because then the output, there isn't as much problem. Well, when you do that, you lose a lot of weight. What happens is then you start to get compliments based upon how you're looking, when you're actually doing the reverse of what you should be doing. I had 2 family members that were coming over and sitting with her at different times of the day as I worked. I got a call from that family member that had been sitting with her that day. She told me that Susie wasn't doing very good that day, and her mindset wasn't where it should be. I decided to come home from work right away when I heard that. I looked at her twin sister first, and her twin sister shook her head no. And then I looked at my wife, and I never saw that look on her face once in 32 years. I said, "What's wrong?" And she told me that she thought she was dying.
I walked into the emergency room, and my aunt came up to me and said, like, "You can go in there if you want, just like be prepared." I'm thinking like, what does that mean? Like, that's my mom in there. She could communicate with her eyes really well, and like with her hands. And so she kept like looking at me and my dad, and we're like, "What do you want?" And she went like this, and we're like, do you want to like write us something? So we got her a piece of paper, and she just started writing stuff. And she wrote to me something that she always told me, that Dad loves you as much as I love you.
I went into a room, the most beautiful room in the hospital. And it's a room that oversees the skyline of Chicago. And they sat down and they explained to me what they felt they needed to do for her. And it was 5 surgeries. And going through the progression of them telling me everything that needed to be done, I got to the point where I just simply asked one question every time: what's their chance of survival? And by the time you got to the 3rd surgery, it was next to nothing.
I came home and I saw him crying in his bed, and I just went up to him and just laid with him. That was the first time I saw my dad cry. That's really the moment that hit me that there's a lot going on, and he doesn't know how to fix it, and he knows that there's a real problem here.
I had a very, very personal conversation with her, letting her know that it was okay. Then I went and told Zachary.
He said to me, like, really softly, he said, "You need to go in there because it's time." And so I went in there and I instantly grabbed her hand and I didn't want to let go of it. For like 5 minutes, it was just me and her. I didn't say a word, I just sat there with her. I was just waiting for her to breathe again and her chest to go up again. And, you know, it never did. I went up and gave my mom a kiss, just like we did when I was little before I went to bed, and told her I loved her. In the hospital, I talked to my mom and I talked to her about what I want to major in. And I asked her if I would be a good teacher, and she nodded her head yes. And I said, well, I'm thinking about becoming a special education teacher. And she nodded her head yes again, and that's when I really made the decision that that's what I was going to pursue as my major. The person I connect with the most when I go back home is my high school head coach's son, Sam Wrenchen.
Me and him, we always get ice cream together. We always play games like Uno. Oh, draw four, Zach. That's me. Then draw four, that's all eat.
He's so energetic
Almost.
and just wild, and I love it.
Go.
Oh, you did not do that.
2, 3.
Got it then?
Look at that.
So that's faster day. Yeah, don't be jealous about me.
Everyone has their problems and everyone has battles that people fight within themselves that they might not tell anyone. When I feel pain, I just think about all the pain that my mom felt and how much she still fought to try to make it through it. And there's no pain that I can feel that I can't push myself through. I just feel her presence with me all the time, and I know she's up there watching me. I just use that as motivation that I'm just trying to make her proud.
It's the Toledo Rockets in town at 4-4 in the Mid-American Conference, looking up one game behind Ball State in the MAC West standings. Luke Kanapke to the rim for Toledo. A two-hand slam for the 6'11 freshman. The replacement for Jonathan Williams gives Toledo a 5-0 lead.
They just got punched in the mouth by Toledo. Ball State being exploited early here in the first half.
You know, I think Franco and Taylor in particular, those guys, they weren't going to let us lose that game.
The thing that impressed me the most about Taylor in that game was his maturity during the course of the game. His communicating to his teammates, his coming to the timeouts and really maintaining his composure.
Ball State out and running. Long lead pass to Teague. Two-hand dunk in transition.
There aren't many big guys that can make that play. It's part of what makes him special.
Moses faces up Kanapke, goes to work. Kanapke hits the deck. Offensive foul call. Ball State looking to end it in regulation if Diapwe can hit this free throw. Free throw is up and it is down. post, and at the buzzer he doesn't get it off. No shot for Toledo, and Ball State wins.
Being able to pull off a win when you don't really feel too great about it was definitely big in helping us keep our momentum going forward.
You know, we just got to keep getting better, and it's one of the things that I know is coming that people will interpret however they interpret is our February schedule is murderer's row. We needed to get off to a good start in conference, and fortunately we did. And you know what? Our road is much harder traveled, and you know what? We can lose some. That's fine. I hope we don't. But as long as we have the mindset of just getting better every day, then you know the rest of it tends to take care of itself.